Masechta Zevachim, Daf Lamed Hey Amud Aleph. We're starting from Daf Lamed Aleph Amud Beis, 5 lines in the bottom, and we're up to Gufa, the word Gufa. Okay. Zag the Yimada Gufa, we had previously learned, we learned in the Braisa that Rabbi Yehuda said that they would take from one kais and fill up with blood from the taruves of the blood. They would make so many kavim psachim, and they would take one case from the floor and put together, and that's the blood that they would spray for one zikah against the yisoid. If you remember, I told you the foundation only went around 3 sides. On one side there wasn't a yisoid, the foundation, so they only sprayed the blood against where there was a foundation around the mizbeach. The foundation only went around 3. This side they wouldn't spray the blood. Now, so, and we don't say, it went on the floor, so it's a dichui. So dichui means already pushed off, it wasn't done right. It has to be all from the kli sharis and fell on the floor. So I'll say, so you want a dichui in the blood, you can't use it anymore. No, we don't say that. Huh? Dichui means that once it became unusable, while it's on the floor was unusable, it can never be used. Yeah, but okay, so you leave it. Whatever went on the mizbeach, when it was roi, you don't take it down. What you do? We learned that before. You don't take it down. Anyway, the blood you can't use.
So there's no zika.
There's no zika, so the carbon, you're not yitza with that carbon.
So what do you do with that carbon?
That carbon you leave on the mizbeach. Any carbon, any animal that went on the mizbeach in a fitting way, and then it became zika, of course.
Or they put it on after
They put it on the mizbeach. Okay, go from Memfri Geland. Tanya, we learned in the Braisa, Rabbi Yehuda says, Kois echad hoya memala medan hab terubes. There was one kois that the kohen would fill up from all the psachim that were geshachten. They would suck it up from the ground and put it into a kois and spray the blood on the mizbeach. Put it into the kli sharis and then spray it onto the mizbeach. They took, but they wanted from all the kabbanis, and there might have been one carbon that fell on the floor. So in order to be yaitz of all the kabbanis, they took from the floor. So for sure they got from all the kabbanis. So the Gemara asked over here, it says over here, what was the purpose of it? Here he says the reason. Because if one of the cases of the blood that were deer that fell on the floor before you were able to spray it onto the mizbeach, it comes out that this case, because you used it, you took it from the floor, because there might have been a case that the whole blood fell from one of the psachim that fell on the floor and didn't have zik sadam. Now you have it.
So you can take it from the floor.
Yeah. So the Chacham said to Rabbi Yehuda, it wasn't. We learned the only time that you can suck it up from the ground and put it back into kli sharis is only if at first they were makabel with kli sharis, and then it fell on the floor. Then you can suck it up and put it on the top.
Here it goes straight on the floor.
Here, maybe it went straight on the floor. Says, how could you make it kosher? Says, from how do the know that the blood that was poured before that it was neskabel kli? How do you know?
It's okay.
Right? His kasha. How do you know? You're asking. Maybe it was poured before it was neskabel kli. Says you don't know. Ela shema loy neskabel kli. He meant to say maybe the dam that the kohen gathered from the ritzvah had of blood that went directly to the floor. Yeah, so it's a suffix. So afani lo yamarti. And also, I didn't say that they should gather the blood that had fallen on the floor to spray the blood. Elikins should have the kli. I still stick with the shita. The only time that you could gather the blood from the ground and put it back into a kli sharis, only if it first came into a kli sharis from the neck of the animal, and then it fell on the floor.
This is the last.
Yeah. So who goofim in the Rabbi Yehuda himself, how does he know that all the blood that was gathered was taka neskabel b'kli before it was poured out?
But he said it's a suffix. He doesn't know. So how does he know to say it's okay?
How do you know? But he's asking Bechlal, where do you come up with this concept that it was on the floor? Why would it be on the floor? I mean, maybe he went directly to the floor. He says, where did it come to be? If it went through a kli, where did it come so much blood on the floor? So he says, Kahanim zizit. The Kahanim were rushing They were fast people. Only because of the zizus, they would run with the kalim, they would beat Makabal the blood, run around. So while they were running, it was like they were in a running race. So it spills over with some blood. And that means because of the zizus, while they're doing the Aveda swiftly, and they're rushing to bring the dam to the mizbeach to spray the dam, while they're running, there was some blood.
So it really wasn't. It really wasn't a keli.
It was discovered by kli, and it fell out of a kli. How did it fall on the floor? Because of the rush. The kohanim were running to bring the blood to the mizbeach while they were running.
You're not supposed to rush.
It says, "V'avadetem mahirim." My father used to say, "From island is verliert V'avadetem mahirim." Anyway, so the Gemara. But you also have blood that fell to the floor. That after the dam hanefesh fell out, there was still blood that came out of the animal that leaked onto the floor, which was not the dam hanefesh. We said which is the blood that is mat to the behema. The dam that keeps the animal.
Is mu'urv in the blood that's on the floor.
So on the ground there was some dam hatamtzis. After the dam hanefesh came out, there was dam hatamtzis, like by a bird. With tamtzis means mekvetch the rest of the blood. That's by a bird. But you have dam hatamtzis by a behema also. After the dam hanefesh comes out, you had the dam hatamtzis, which was not dam hanefesh. Yeah, sure. I went with my father. It was mixed. I went as a kid, but I saw it. But it's all on chains. Anyway, so dam hatamtzis murba. You have blood that's not is not shy to be used as a zrika, mixed with the other bloods. Rabbi Yehuda goes according to his reason. The dam hatamtzis kri dam. Dam hatamtzis is called dam. Where do we see that? The Tanya we learned in the Braisa. Dam hatamtzis, whether it's a behemah shel chulun or a behemah shel kachim, bihasara falls under the warning that if you eat that blood, you're over on an isur lav. As if you're eating achilas dam hanefesh. Yeah. Rabbi Yehuda says not only that, it's so severe the dam hatamtzis that he gets the same punishment as if he's eating the blood of dam hanefesh, the blood that keeps the animal alive.
The says don't eat blood. It means blood.
Even all blood. Now he's saying, but this blood falls out. This dam hatamtzis falls under that category. You're not allowed to eat blood. About the punishment, that's the hazara. This is the warning about the punishment. What does he get? So Rabbi Yehuda says he even gets kares, just like the dam hanefesh. So it's mamish in the same category. So he says it's not possible dam. In fact, but what are you talking about? Rabbi Yehuda, lini kapara, that ain't a mechapa. Lini kapara, the dam tamtzis cannot be mechapa for the person. In order that the kapara should happen, you had to spray the blood. Well, which kind of blood would be mechapa? Only dam hanefesh, not the dam hatamtzis. Ain't a mechapa. Where do we see that? Kadam here, nefesh benefesh yichapa. The nefesh is mechapa for nefesh. The dam hanefesh, nishkin dam tamtzis. Dam shanefesh yitzebay karidam. A dam that the nefesh comes out of because of that dam is that's called dam. Shein hanefesh yitzebay karidam. It's not called dam. It's not called blood.
What is it called?
Oh, but it's not called the blood. So don't tell me that it's me'urabit tamtzis is still considered blood. It's not the dam hanefesh. It's not the kosher blood.
Therefore, you can't use it.
Therefore, how could you be ma'orev? How could you mix the blood of dam hanefesh? Yeah, the blood that's on the ground has a mixture of dam hatamtzis. How could you use that kais by scooping up the blood from the floor, which you have a mixture of dam hatamtzis? Rather, Rabbi Yehuda goes according to his reason. The Amma ain't dam mevatel dam. Min b'mina ain't batel. They're both blood. Yet one is dam hanefesh, one is dam hatamtzis. But we're not going to say since there's roiv dam hatamtzis, so ois dam hanefesh. So he says if you have both dam, there's no roiv. It's not batel b'roiv. It doesn't become batel. Amalei Rabbi Yehuda.
Only the dam hanefesh is not batel b'roiv.
Right. And therefore, even if you have a tropinka, even a drop of the dam hanefesh, it's already good. And you don't say, oh, it's about b'roiv. No. Agam is raiv of dam hatamtzis.
So it doesn't matter that there's dam hatamtzis inside.
Right.
It's mixed up. As long as there's dam hanefesh.
That's enough. Right. Amalei Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda said to the Chacham, according to you, you say You're not allowed to gather the blood from the ground in order to use it to spray the blood. So lama peikim, why would they stop plug the drain and that the blood should go up and up and up? Why would they do that?
Which rain? Which rain?
They had a drain. There was like a wide river where the blood came out from the Mizbeach, would come down into a drain where there was a river. So they would plug the drain so that the blood should come up. In fact, you want to lama peikim? Oh, so he says, why would they do it? Lama peikim. Why would they plug it in the Hazavish, that the blood should get? Why you wanted the blood to go up higher and higher? Why? If according to my sheet, so listen, I needed the blood. I didn't want it to drain because we used that blood, which was mixed with a whole bunch of common stuff to spray. So we didn't want to. So we plugged the drain to have the blood. It's good blood. But according to Chacham, it's not good blood anyway. We can't use that blood. Why did they do it? Why would they plug the drains? Amrulai. So the Chacham says, "Shebchul l'bnei Aaron." It was a praise for the bnei Aaron sheyihalchu, that they should go in the blood ad aku beisei, until their knees in knee dip in blood. Bedam. What was the reason for it? So he brings down, because with this they show that the services to Hashem, that they're giving over themselves so much, they're not even disgusted with the blood that's coming up to their knees. That's how Gitrai and Ibi. They were wearing pants. You know, they have in Venice, you know, that floods up the water sometimes. So they walk in the water, but they have the gear. They have these boots that go up all the way up. So that's how they walk. They walk with that gear. In fact, you want to Hadam, how yeah, in Venice you can chop fish even in next to your house or in your house because the water fills up. In fact, you want to Hadam, how the dam is a chatzitza. So how could it says you're not allowed to have anything between your piata of your foot and the floor of the Beis Hamikdash or the Mishkan, so you weren't allowed. Beis Hamikdash, right? So that's a chatzitza, the blood. So how could they walk in this blood? Says you want to lachol. It was blood is wet, is liquid, so it's not a chatzitza. The Tanan that we learned in a Mishnah. Here it says in a Braisa. When they get to chatzitza by tvila, it says Adam, Adyoy, Advash, Ve'acholov. If it's Yevesh chaytzitzin, if you have stuck to the yopiata, blood or ink or honey or milk, which became faglivit congealed, and you go to mikveh, if it's congealed, chaytzitzin, it's chatzitza. Lachin. But if it's liquidy, it's not congealed. Ain't chaytzitzin, it's not a chatzitza. So the same thing. He says the same thing when these people walked into the Beis Hamikdash with the blood on the bottom of the feet, they were liquidy, so it wasn't a chatzitza. In fact, you might have come mitavzei monayu, but the begadim were dirty. So and tonight we learned in the Mishnah, how you begadim mitushdashin. If the begadim were dirty, the avad and they did the haveda sepsula. The haveda is possible. So how could they have walked with the shmein of gudim? Shmeina begadim and or the four begadim and it's dirty and they're doing the aveda. If your begadim are dirty, you can't do the aveda. If they want to chid them the madlu, and if you're going to say, oh, they picked up the begadim. You remember we learned before that if the begadim were too long, they could make it up to size. They would put it under the gartel, and it was considered as measured. There was one time it said because why is it considered as it's measured exactly? Because whatever you put under the gartel is considered as it's cut. It's not there. So it says, we learned in the Braisa, Midoi, it has to, the begadim have to match exactly the measurement of the person. Kimidase, like whatever the measurement of the person is. You can't have it short, can't come in short pants, and you can't come in too long of pants. So here, if you're going to say the case was that he rolled it up to make it short, it's still called short pants because we're talking about the Mandahama that says whatever he put under the gartel, he's tucked under the gartel, is considered as cut. So it's as if he's wearing shorts. So you can't answer me, oh, it was fine because he put it under the gartel.
People, when they daven, they think the sisters, they put it through the gartel. shouldn't hang. Because it's a shape of shulchan.
Okay, so that's done. Okay, fine.
It shouldn't hang low.
Fine. So he's asking Shaila, how could you answer me? It didn't get dirty because he tucked the pants. He made it into shorts by putting it under the gartel. But there's a madam that says it's considered as if the pants is cut. And it's no good. And the Gemara, they weren't doing avodah at that time, and therefore you can go with dirty begotten. What were they doing? They were bringing the limbs on the ramp to the mizbech. That wasn't an avodah, so that's why they didn't have to have the clothing set. No, it had to be clean. Didn't have to exactly measure, or it could be dirty. Okay, you're right. It could be even dirty. Here he says because they were able to lift the pants, and even though it's considered as cut, it's no big deal. You didn't need the begodim at that time. In fact, you didn't need. That's not part of the avodah when you bring up the limbs up the ramp. But Tanya, we learned in the brayso it says that the kohen would bring close all the limbs and burn it on the mizbeach. This is bringing up the limbs on the ramp. And if the Torah writes as an instruction what has to be done, that's part of the Aveda. So how can you say it's not part of the Aveda? Says you're right. Ella, what do we mean? We're talking about bringing the wood to the place where they made the fire by the Maracha. So when the Kohen would schlep the woods and throw it onto the Maracha, that's not an Aveda. But when it came to the Aveda, how did they do the Aveda? Says the Gemara, it's the big. They had like benches above the marble benches above the ground. So when the blood would go up, they would go on these like ramps, like they have in Italy, in Venice. They have the same thing. When there's a flood, they have like a whole bunch of little steps or like ramps that everybody's walking on above the water.
So what did that do for them?
That they wouldn't get their clothing dirty.
The blood collected higher ramps,
But the ramps were higher. They were walking on the ramps above the blood.
They walked on the ramps?
Yes.
So they don't get that dirty.
So they didn't get their clothing dirty. And he brings down, since it was a fixed fixture in the Beis Hamikdash, these ramps, therefore it was considered as walking, because you could say it's a chatzitza. So he says since it was fixed to the ground, it's part of the ground. I saw that before. I don't know if I'll find it again. Okay, that's what it says. Oh, maybe he says over here. Since they were set in part of the Beis Hamikdash. Okay, Zak the Mishnah. One who shechs a carbon, but almanas lechel davashein dak lechel. We had this before. He shechs a carbon, and he has in mind to eat from this carbon something that's not the derech to eat. But after this man or in the wrong place, right? You remember chutz lizmane, chutz lemkoime. These are the details of pigul. It's not going to be pigul because it's not the.
He wants to eat the hind. He wants to eat the
right.
Certain detail.
Something that's not the derech to eat, right? We had before, right? Or to burn something. He's shechting almanas to burn something chutz lemkoime, chutz lizmane. But it's a davar she'ein dark and lahakter. It's something that you don't burn on the mizbeach. But he had in mind to burn it. So it's after this man or outside the place. Says you want the kosher, the carbon is kosher because he didn't do pigul. It's not it has to be on something that's the derech to eat or it's the derech to burn. And there, in the thing that's the derech to eat or derech to burn, he had the wrong machshava. Then it's pigul. Rabbi Lezer says, I don't care if it's not the derech. Derech hahin, derech haheh. It's possible. Finished.
You didn't have the right machshava.
It's gone.
Too bad.
Yeah.
You messed it up.
Nifta pifta abia lept. Okay, yeah. Zag die Gemara. If he shachted the zebach, avanas lechel, dav shedaki lechel. Or lahakter, dav shedaki lahakter. But what was the problem? he didn't have in mind for the whole animal or for the whole piece.
Parts.
Only pachas mekazayis, even less than what the shear is, less than the kazayis. Then it's kosher because he didn't really have a pig. A pig has to be on something that has the shear. You got the shear. Okay, lecho kachatzi zayis, to eat a half a zayis or a hakta kachatzi zayis. So you want to know if he had in mind b'negei ta'achila the wrong shear and b'negei to the aktara the wrong shear, but he had the wrong kavanas there. So he says kosher. It's kosher. She'ein achila aktara mitztafim. Because the achila and the aktara do not combine. They do not combine to make one shear to be chayiv. Huh? Yeah. Sag die Mother, ha-sheichet es ha-zevach, somebody who shechs a korban, lecho kezayis min ha'oir, to eat a kezayis from oir, here comes your case, oir. The oir is the hide. Hide is not something that a person eats. Or he has a mind from the liquid that comes out of the meat that became fagliva, congealed. Kippah is like the gravy. Ha'elol is there was a artery between the windpipe and the food pipe. There was another artery that was in the neck that was called olol. It was something that was soft and
It's not meat. It's not something that you eat.
it's not something that you eat normally.
The vein.
And from the bones, and from the sinews, and from the horns, and from the hooves, and he had in mind to eat it outside the zman or outside the place. Kosher, it's kosher. Because it's not roy lachila. It's not, here he's not using daka even. Here it's not even roy. Hide. Who eats hide? Like he gave the case of
You
a
call pickle. You don't say pickle.
You don't say pickle for sure because you can't even eat it. And he had in mind to eat it after this man. Not only are you not chayim mishum pigul, if it was noisa, let's say he left it over after this man that the carbon was allotted, it was supposed to be burnt. So that those parts, like the oil, is not considered noisa, or it's not, or a tummy. If a tummy went ahead and he ate it, betumas haguf, it's nothing. It's not over. Hashoichet es hamugdoshim. Somebody who now mugdoshim. Normally, when it says hamugdoshim, it's talking about a nekeva. He's shechting on the nekeva, the animal. He brings down b'chol makom sheneiket hatana loshem mugdoshim. Rashi says that it's meduba b'nekeves bavad. It's only talking about the nekeves alone. Because the kabbanis, there were kabbanis that were scharim, and there were kabbanis that they brought as nekevas. Some kabbanis were not fit to use as a nekeva. You could only use as zacha. We're still going to see. The Gemara is going to speak about it.
Pesach was the zacha.
Yes. We're going to soon learn all those kabbanis. Kabbanis Kabbanis which are on a keva, on the condition lechal shlil, to eat the fetus, oishilya, or the placenta, bachutz, outside the place where it's raya to eat the carbon. Loy pigel, it's not pigel. Hamelek is hatoiden, somebody who uses malika to shech the dove, they use the thumb, the kohen had a long nail, to took the bird, and get mashnaid, and that's how he, from the back. So Hamelek is hatoiden, but amanaslecho be'ehem, had in mind to eat the eggs, but from the stomach of the bird. Bachutz, outside the azara, loy pigel, that's not pigel, because the be'im are not part of the goof of the carbon. It's separate. Chalev mukdashim, what about the milk that's in the udders of the carbon? We're talking about carbon the keva, ubei and the eggs of a tainen. Ein chayam alam mishum pigel. You're not going to be chay because of pigel. And if he ate the eggs or drank the milk, everything is perfect. No, he doesn't have to worry. Ben noisa, and if he ate it after the zman of achilas hakarbon, he ate the eggs. No, he's not going to. It's fine because it's not part of the carbon. The bayin is a separate thing. The milk is a separate thing. B'tamei, and a tamei mitzad isa of achilas kachim etumas haguf he's not over, because it's not the guf hakarban. Okay, so the Gemara, the Mishnah taught us that if he had a machshavas pigul on the how do you call it, the stomach, the fetus or the placenta, see, right? It's the mother doesn't. There's no pigul. But he didn't say what's the din of the sholol itself. He didn't speak about the sholol. He said loy nispagel. That's a loy pigul. What we want to know is the pigul only going on the rest of the animal, but there's no pigul for the rest of the animal, but the placenta or the fetus does become pigul or not. Says the Gemara like this: Amar Abelazar, pigul bazevach. If his machshava was wrong about the whole carbon as a carbon, he had in mind to eat the whole carbon amanas, to eat it longer than a lot of time, or to chutz lezmanai, that was chutz lezmanai, or chutz lemkaimai, nispagil al shliel, then the fetus did become pigul. But what's if bashliel, he only had in mind for the shliel, to eat the fetus chutz lezmanai, Lo niskabel hazavach. The zavach did not, even though the shlil is part of the goof of the zavach, but since most of the people don't eat it, so this is a machshava to eat something that's ein darke leheyachel, and it's not pigul. Pigul be'olo. What's if he had the wrong machshava in that artery? I told you that's by the neck. Nispalga mura. Then the crop. That's the crop is where the mist was. I don't know what it's called. Crop, C-R-O-P. Mura. You have it in the Chumash, or it's called the Zefek. So he says that then it becomes pigul. The mura becomes pigul. But if he had pigul, the wrong thoughts in the crop, loitness pagul ha'ala. The Allah didn't become pigul. What's the difference? Because the this one is more ready to eat. The olah versus the mura. The mura is not eaten normally, right? But so he says, if you start off with something that pigul is shaykh, then it will be nimshach to the things where pigul is not shaykh. But if you start off with the pigul with something that's not shaykh to eat, you're not going to transfer it to the rest of the animal. Pigul by emurim of param anasafim, that was the yeshach navanas to burn the emureim out the chutz lizmano, nispaglu haparim. Then the whole par became pigul. Parim, but if he had the wrong thought in the parim, by the parim itself, that he had in mind to shecht it and eat it chutz lizmano, loy nispaglu hemurim, because it's not shaykh to eat it. The parim is hanisrafi. They had to burn it completely. It wasn't fit to eat. It means the parim hanisrafim, sidim hanisrafim, of those kabbanis where they had to be completely burned, and he had a mind to eat it, so it doesn't become pigul because it's not shaykh to eat it. So the emurim of that behema, he says, didn't become pigul because it wasn't. But if it was the reverse, if he had pigul on the emurim, then it would transfer to the parim, that the whole part would be pigul. Let us say that this following baraisa will be a right that is adava miskabel is chayv alav kares, even though machshavas pigul doesn't help. But if you start off with something that is shaykh to have pigul, it'll transfer to something that's not shaykh. Rishavim, Reb Shimon Chacham that argued if it's shaykh by param hanasrafim, there's a machlokes, but others say that by param hanasrafim, if he had pigul of the wrong kavanah, it is possible, right? That's what we learned in the Mishnah. She'im chishev, if the kohen had in mind at the time by doing one of the avidas adam, ba'achilas parim u'b'seifasam, to eat from the basa the next day, or to burn it outside of Yerushalayim, lo yasva lo kum. The carbon did not become pigul, because the basar of param hanasrafim is not oimed le'achila. It's Nisrafim. It's oimed l'sefer.
So pickles only shaykh the something that's bederach to eat.
The derech to eat, yeah, and therefore the machshava that the person had won't help to passel the parim which is for nisrafim, or by the haktorah. The same thing. If it's something he had in mind to eat something of the haktorah which has to be burnt on the mizbeach, it's not going to help. But the Gemara, my love, is it then that only if he had in mind first on the basar parim to eat it after the zman, then it doesn't become pigol. But if he had a mind for a mudim which is shaykh the union of pigol, then it's pagla apart. Then we do say it's transferred. Is chaylev right? Meaning it's consumed on the mizbeach or whatever it is. Yes. So therefore it's shaykh. Since it's shaykh, then pigol by the mudim, we transfer it to the parim as well. So that's our raya, because we said only in chisha b'achilas parim u'b'seifasam, only if he had a mind in the eating of the parim, then it's not pigol. But if he had a mind in the so you can be medayik in the it will. He says, no, don't be medayik the b'rais like that. Say when he said that im chisha b'achilas parim, he's being medayik hoi chisha b'emurim nispag lo ha'emurim atzman, that the emurim itself became pigol, but not that it transfers also to the parim.
Who's saying this?
The Gemara says you want to bring a right to Rabbi Lezer. Rabbi Lezer says if he had it by kavana for the zevach, then it transfers also to the parts that are not shaykh pigol. How? Because the Brisa says by Fedish, when is it possible? If he had a mind for achila for something that has to be burned, but it's not shaykh, then we say it doesn't. There's no dim pigol. But it's mashma. But if he had in mind the wrong machshava on a mudim where it's shaykh pigol, that's how we're medayik. Then it does transfer. Say, don't use the word transfer. Be medayik. If he had in mind on the panim which has to be burned, the wrong machshava, then it is no pigol. But if he had in mind for the mudim, then we say the mudim itself has pigol. Not that it transfers to the par. How do you know that it transfers to the par?
So the par is good.
He's saying you don't have a raya that it transfers to those parts that are not shaykh the pigul.
So we don't say transfer at all.
Right. He wants to say you don't have a raya.
Anytime?
Oh, right now Rabbi Lezer says befedish it does transfer, but we're trying to find the raya. The first raya was no good. That deal says Tashma, come and help me from here for Rabbi Lezer. It says param anasafim or sidim anasafim. It says the param anasafim and the sidim anasafim. This is talking about when the Yidden sin ba'avodah zarah, by listening to a erroneous psak of Bezdin. So they had to bring these two, parim and the sidim. So what happened? There's a din me'ilah that if Mishahugdashu from the time they said, okay, this parim sidim is vachatos, from that moment it became holy, and if somebody has enough of it, he's eva me'ilah.
Even though it's going to be burned.
Yeah. Nishchatu, if it was slaughtered, hukshiru lepasel tvuyayim. Once it was yishachtin, it became muksher to become a kabel tumah from a tvuyayim. Even though he was tail the mikveh, but the harish shemesh, the shemesh didn't come down yet, so he's called a tvuyayim, and if he touches the cup, it's going to be a tummy.
Even though it's a cup that you're going to burn.
A puzzle, I mean, yes. Or he had, it was such a Aveda that needs full Yom Harav Shemesh, and the next day you have to bring a carbon. So if he was still Mechusik Kippurim, and he touched the animal that was Geshachten, that was slaughtered, then the halacha is that it becomes possible. Ubelina, and if it stayed till the morning after the Shechita, which it was supposed to be burned through the night, and it stayed it stayed existing overnight, so then he's Ayvan the Yisraelina. My love, Lina's basa. So you have here an union of Lina for after this man. If there's a din of Lina, there's a din of Marshav also. Shmamina Migda possible Lina, since it becomes possible for Lachas man, possible Marshava. So too, if he had a Marshava to keep it, that it shouldn't be burned through the night, it'll have a din of pigul. So you have a raya that by basa and nisrafim, there's the din of pigul. It says, Lloyd, that's not a raya.
Well, he wants to be the raya that you can transfer. So what's the raya that you're transferring here?
He wants to bring a raya even by something that's not shot. Yeah, it does get transferred. Look, by lina, by the whole behema, you're saying even the basa part, he had a mind to keep it overnight, which was supposed to be burned.
Yeah.
The oiva and the isav lina. So if there's the concept of lina, there's the concept of machshava of lina, which is pigul. Says Yimana Loi. Who says it's talking about basa? Lina say murim. He's talking about the lina of the murim. Where and only that part where it's shayach, the Indian of pigul, that's where the isav lina is. There's no isav lina on the rest of the meat. He's saying you have no proof.
He wants to make proof here that the haze is a korban that you have to burn.
So it's going also on the basa.
There's also a pigul.
On the basa where it's not shayach pigul. There's the isav lina.
No, you're talking about pigul of the behema has to
Of the
burn.
whole behema, right? But he says the isav lina is going on the emudim, is not going. You said since there's a concept of lina on the basar, that there's a isav lina.
Yeah, but he was supposed to burn the whole carbon. He was supposed to burn.
Right,
And he
it's
didn't
true.
burn.
But the
So what
isav
did he have in
lina,
mind? He
but
had
the
in mind to
isav,
do it the next day.
right?
So we say there's an isser of lina.
But there's no isav lina by basa. He's telling you now that there's no isav lina by basa, that you should automatically say that if you had the machshava pay after the time, that there should be a isav pigul. It's only going on the emudim. The isav lina is only applicable to emudim. Says, well, how could you say that? I'm a Diktani Sefer. Look in that same brayz. It says, "Kula mayalim bahen al beis hadeshen." All the parim and the seirim that have to be burned, right, have a din me'ilah, even in the place where they have to be burned. You're not allowed to have enough of it. The moment you have enough, even though it's now, it's like it's not there. It's evenly sarif. We say still, if you have enough, you're oiva me'ilah. Says you want to acha yud chabasa till the whole basa is scorched. So the cloud the reisha belins basa. So the reisha has to be talking about also basa, not a murim, because what's the lashon acha yutach habasa till the whole basa is scorched. Then there's no din of me'ilah. So just like by me'ilah you were talking about basa. And in that same Mishnah, you use the word Yisrael. Obviously, you're talking about Basra. Says, who's the media? Who says so? The Reisha is talking about Lina, and the Sefer is talking about Reisha Emurim. Okay, you can say the Reisha is talking about Emurim, and that's the only there is Shaykh the Psul of Lina, and the Sefer where it's talking about Meila is even Bebasa. You don't have to say automatically we're talking about the same item.
So there's no pigul in the basa.
There's no pickle in the basa, right?
Even has about to burn it.
Later on, it's not pickle. No. Meisiv Rabbi is that Kashala Rabbi Lezer from the Brais Ve'iloshein Mefaglim. These are the karbanis. Look how many times it says about Ein Mefaglim. The Ein Mefaglim. It says these are the karbanis that they themselves don't become puzzle. They don't become pigul, and they don't make others pigul. Sema shebarashik fosim, the wool that grows on the head of the sheep, and the beards that grow on the goats, the ha'ir and the skin, ha'retiv, and the is the juice from the meat, va'kifa and the gravy, va'alo is that gid that I said is the neck, va'amur and the crop, va'tzamis. And the bones, the sinews, the horns, and the hooves, vashlil, is the fetus vashilya, and the placenta, the chaliv, hamugdashim, and also the milk that's in the dadim of the behema, obeyat, so now you have twice. Started off, now he said again, he ends off, and then he says a third time, Mishum pigul, and there's no chiyuv of pigul. B'tamei, and he says, and noisa, there's no isa of noisa, b'tamei, and if he ate it while his guf is tamei, it's not eating. He's not even on the isa of a tamei eating kachim. And if he is makte, he burns it outside the base. I think he's part of the chiyuv kadis. In these cases, my law says you want to learn the faglin hazeva. that if he had a mind in the time of the Aveda of the carbon to eat or to burn from these chutzlis mane, it's not pigul, and the zevach is kosher. If he had a mind to eat from the meat of the carbon or to burn chutzlis mane, so the zevach became pigul. So the pigul is not chal on all the above mentioned the items that the Mishnah mentioned. So we have the Abraisa saying that if the zevach became pigul, the shlil and the shalya did not become pigul. Says Gemara Loi, no, you have no proof from the Abraisa. You can be mefarish loy mefaglin es hazevach v'loy mispaglin machmasatzman. You can learn that the zevach, meaning when he had a mind, a machshavas pigul, not only did the zevach not become pigul, but they themselves did not become pigul, because his machshava was not on something that shaykh that if he had a mind, the first machshava that he had was on things that were not the derech to eat or roy to eat. So that in itself doesn't become pigul, and it doesn't transfer, doesn't affect the rest. What people are saying 40. Okay, so the mother. Okay, we're gonna have to stop over here.
You want to have to.
We'll go over one more time. My love, isn't it the piddush like the faglin es hazevach, that it means that if he had a mind at the time of the avodas hakam to eat or to burn from these things, above mentioned things that the Mishnah had mentioned at some is agidim akanayim chutz lizmanoi, that it's loy pigul, but the zevach is kosher, and the carbon is kosher, it's not pigul. V'loy mispaglim machmas hazevach. And it also doesn't become pigul if at the time when he had the wrong kavanah chutz lizmanoi chutz l'mekaymei, when it gave to the carbon itself where it's shaykh in pigul, we're not going to say that it transfers even to those items that are not shaykh pigul, which is not like Rebbe Lezer, who Rebbe Lezer said that if he had a machshava pigul in the part of the carbon with shaykh pigul, then it transfers also to the other parts which is not the derech la'achila or roya la'achila, like that. Some is like kanayim, that it's not going to transfer to them. It's not going to, the pigul, this pigul will not affect the other stuff. Only the carbon where it's shaykh, the only part of the carbon which is shaykh in pigul, which comes out not like Rebbe Lezer says. We're not forced to be mefarish like that. We can be mefarish like this. Loy mefaglin es hazevach. These items, if he of that, some is given kanayim or the oil, whatever he had in mind of chutz lizmanei, chutz l'mekaymei, he had in mind a machshava which creates isa pigul. It's not. It doesn't pass the rest of the carbon. The loy mispaglin machas matzmam, and it in itself it doesn't become pigul. That's what he's come to tell you. But obviously, if he would have had the wrong machshava of chutz lizmanei chutz l'mekaymei by the part of the carbon where it's shaykh pigul, then it would transfer to the above mentioned items. The isa pigul would transfer to the oil, to the hide, or to the gravy, or to the rest of the items that the Mishnah mentions. So you don't have a steer on Rebbe Lezer. If so, if the kavanah is that that it doesn't become pigul machmas atzmam. This that we learned in the sefer, kulam loy mefaglim loy mispaglin. Why does it have to say the second time? You said eilu. You already started off the Mishnah that these are the things she'eim mefaglim, ve'eim mispaglin, and then you say again at the sefer loy mefaglim loy mispaglin. Why does he have to say the second time? Why would you say the second time? Obviously, the repetition has come to tell us that even if he had the kavanah of the wrong kavanah on the good part of the carbon of machshava pigul, that it's not going to transfer to the items which is not the derech of achila or haktara. That's not going to transfer to the isa pigul, won't transfer to those above mentioned items in the Mishnah. That's why he repeated. It says, you want to know, well, at times, according to your reasoning, it is a third time that it says this a repetition of it, that there's no Isa Pigel. It says, Ein Chayam Allah Mishum Pigel. If you look further, it says a third time that you're not Chayam Mishum Pigel. Why do we need a third time? Ella, for sure, I did the Baila Mishnah, because the Mishnah had to say that he's not going to be Chayam for Noisar or Vitame, for if he was Tame and he ate these items, that he's not going to be over on Tame eating Kachim. So therefore, Tana Pigel, he said also there's no Isa Pigel. So just like because of Neis V'Tama you learned Pigel, Hachanami, we could say the second time that he repeated, that's the reason for the third time of repeating it. Hachanami, so we could say this that he repeated it a second time is Aidi the Bayil Misna, because he had to learn Amayim Mehem Bachutz Potter, somebody who takes these items outside the boundary, he's going to be Potter, that there's no Isa of Chutz. Taneinami, therefore he also learned the Kulan Lemis from the Faglim Lemis Paglim to say that there's no Isa Pigel either. But it was Agav, he added it. It was together with the other Yisurim. Rava says, Afanan Namitanina, we also learned no Mishnah like Rabbi Lezer, that the fetus and the placenta does become Pigel, because if he had the wrong mashava in the carbon itself, in the part that is shaykh in your Pigel. Where do we see that? It says Hasheichtes HaMukdashim, one who slaughters Mukdashim lechol shlil oishilya v'chutz leipigel. If he did it, if he shechs Mukdash on the condition to eat the fetus or the placenta outside it's chutz l'mkaimai, there's no isa pigel. Somebody who does malika with the thumb cutting the turtle dove to eat the eggs, which is not part of the goof of the bird, outside the designated place, which is called chutz l'mkaimai, it's not pigel. And then he learns the milk of that's in the of the behema and the eggs and the turtle dove ein chayav alay mishum pigel neis v'tamei. Those two items, if he ate them, he's not going to be chayav mishum deisa pigel or neisa, or if he was tummy and he ate it as eating as a tummy eating hagdish, he's not going to be chayav for that isa. But what are the only items that he mentions? The milk and the eggs. Hashlil was not mentioned, and all the other items, the fetus and the placenta, was not mentioned. So it's mashma that the only ones that are not chay for pigel is the milk and the eggs. But if it's the fetus and the placenta, chayavin, you'll be chay kares if he ate from the carbon shenispagel. So you have a raya that even though the shlil and the shalya, the fetus and the placenta, we say by them it's the din of pigel is going to be chal on them. So you have a stina. You said that it's not chal. So lalav shmami only. How are you going to answer this stina? Kan in the sefer, which mashma that pigel is chal even on the shalil and the shalya, like we just learned. He didn't mention the shlil and the shalya, the fetus and the placenta, which is mashma that he's chayiv. He's going to be chayiv for pigel. He's machas hazevach. That's because when he had machshavas pigel, he had machshava on an item that is shaykh in your pigel, and we say it transfers to the parts, to the shlil and the shalya, which is not. Well, a shaykh did a pigel if you had the wrong machshava in the shlil and the shalya itself. But if you had machshava in the zevach, in the part of the carbon that is shaykh the Indian of pigel, then we say it does affect the shlil and the shalya. Kan in the Reisha we said, where we said it's not going to have a isa pigel, is machas atzmon, is where he had the wrong machshava in the placenta, in the fetus itself, to eat it chutz l'mkaimei, chutz l'zmanei. Shmamila. So from here we can talk and learn out that the shlil and the shalya do not become pigel, but if it's because if he has the wrong mashava in the part of the carbon where it's shaykh the din of pigul, then it does affect the shlil v'shalya, like the words of Rebbe Eliezer. Now in Hassam, we learned in the Mishnah on Pei Dalar Amid Aleph, where he details the kabbanis which are puzzle, even if it was put on the mizbech, it comes down. So he brings down what are those kabbanis that if it was put on the mizbech, you take it down from the mizbech ubalei bumin. It has a mum, then you take it down from the mizbech. Rabbi Akiva marsh with balei bumin. Rabbi Akiva says even if it was brought up as a balei mum, if it was brought up and it had a mum, you don't take it down. Only by what kind of a mum? By a cataract. We say, even though it is a mum by a behema, but since that type of a mum is kosher by Eifis, because the only mum by Eif is missing a limb, nevertheless, since by Eifes, it's not going to be considered a mum, and this behema was already brought up on the mizbech with that kind of a mum. That's not a mum by the Eifes, so therefore we don't take it down. But this is providing with another limitation. Shekadem, besides just being cataract, you don't take. That's the only mum. Ushekadem ekdisha es muma. That before he was makdashit, that he first was makdashit and then came the mum. But if it was the reverse, then it doesn't. Then it has a din of mumminess. It's not even hagdish because it was never a carbon. By behemoth that was in the cave and the could only be brought from a zacha. The command the it says if the mum came before hagdish, because it was born in the cave and the cave was never ready to go on the mizbeach. Somebody who burns from those items that we above mentioned in the Braisa, like the Eir, the Shilya, Vishalya, Bachutz, outside the Beis Hamikdash Potter. The din is that he's Potter. Mashma Dafke, if he's Mailam Nibas HaShalol, Bechutz, he's going to be Potter. Because it's not Oil HaKava, Bifnim, because it's not mikuf of the carbon. But what's me'iman? But what's if it was from the aim itself? Avalim, hella bin ha'am, when aim. But it's mashma if it came from the mother itself, and it was brought out. Bachutz chayif, he's chayif even on the meat, not only on the emureha. How is it chayif by eilus nekeva? Because by ashlamim and achatos, the carbon is there's no basar. The basar is eaten. It's not brought on the mizbeach. The only one that's brought on the mizbeach is by eilah. But we said by Eilus Nekeva, according to what we said, because Rabbi Akiva Eilus Nekeva also related. Even Rabbi Akiva holds if you brought up in Nekeva onto the Mizbech, you don't take it down. Amani Rabbi Akiva, then it comes out according to Rabbi Akiva that this diuk that we made, that Hamayla Mehen Bachutz is Potter, is dafke from the psar hashalal, only from the fetus or the placenta is going to be potter, because it's not roi to be makiv bifnim, because it's not part of the goof of the carbon. But me'iman, it's mashma, he's going to be chayiv. But how is it shaykh me'iman? Because if it's in the keva, it can never be me'iman. And the keva can never be brought out of the mizbech as a oila, unless you hold that by Oila, if you grew up in a cave, because as a chatzul shlamim, it's not the meat of the iman is not brought on his back. The meat is eaten. But if you say also tated, if it was brought up as in a cave as a Oila, you cannot leave it on his back. You have to take it down. How many? Who's this following this diuk that my iman is going to be chayiv? Says you have to learn pshat like this. Potter. Benegeya to the shilya, the fetus, and the placenta. But what's if it's from the fats of the iman, not the basa, but the fats of the iman, chayiv is going to be chayiv. So since you could learn a murei, ha'ein bachutz, it's not going on the basa, so you don't have a proof it's going on oila. It could be going on a chatzos l'shlamim, and the emurim of the iman of a chatzos l'shlamim is sacrificed on the mizbeach. But the Braisa says behen, which is mashma from the basa of the shalil, and not just me'emurav. The iman that we are medaik from the Braisa that you chayv for the hakravis bachutz has to be dumya didu, has to be similar to the shalil. But only on which is just like with the shalil, we're talking about the basa. So too, we have to be talking about the basa of the aim bachutz, which is not shy by chatzon shlam, because the basa is eaten. It's not makkah. It's not sacrificed on the mizbeach. Says you want to only learn the B'rais like this. Somebody who brings from the emureim of the shliel b'chutz is potter. Ha me'emurei ima b'chutz chayiv. And the B'rais is not talking about a basa whatsoever. He's talking about emurim, either a emurim of the shliel, where there we're going to say if you bring he brings it outside. The chutzlam kemi is potter, but the emurim of the imam, we're not talking about basa. Emurim of the imam is going to be chayiv. That's going to be the dig. Nothing to do with basa.